It was a cold winter evening, and the streets were empty except for a young student, shivering under a flickering streetlight. His backpack was heavy, not just with books but with the weight of his struggles. He had been sitting on the same bench for hours, staring at the last few coins in his hand. It wasn't enough for a meal, let alone the bus fare home. His stomach growled, and his eyes burned with unshed tears. He felt invisible, like the world had turned its back on him. Just as he was about to give up, a voice broke through the silence. "Hey, kid, you look like you could use some help." The student looked up to see a homeless man standing nearby. His clothes were worn, and his face was weathered, but his eyes were kind. The man held out a small paper bag. "It's not much, but it's a sandwich. I got it from the shelter earlier. You look hungrier than I am." The student hesitated, but the man insisted. "Take it. You need it more than I do." That small act of kindness changed everything. The student ate the sandwich, and for the first time that day, he felt a glimmer of hope. The homeless man sat beside him, and they talked for hours. The man shared his story, how he had lost everything but still believed in helping others when he could. The student listened, his heart swelling with gratitude. Before they parted ways, the man handed him a few crumpled dollar bills. "For the bus," he said with a smile. "Don't give up. Things will get better." Years passed, and the student never forgot that night. He worked hard, graduated, and eventually found success, but he often thought about the homeless man who had shown him such kindness when he needed it most. One day, he decided to go back to the neighborhood where they had met. He walked the same streets, hoping to find the man who had changed his life. After days of searching, he finally spotted him, sitting on a bench near the old streetlight. The student approached him, his heart pounding. "Do you remember me?" he asked. The man looked up, his eyes narrowing as he tried to place the face. Then, recognition dawned. "You're that kid from years ago," he said, his voice filled with surprise. The student nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "You gave me food and money when I had nothing. You saved me that night." The man waved it off modestly. "I just did what anyone would do." But the student knew better. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. Inside was enough money to change the man's life, a place to live, food, and a fresh start. The man stared at the envelope, his hands trembling. "I can't accept this," he said, but the student insisted. "You gave me hope when I had none. Now it's my turn to help you." The two men embraced, their tears mingling as the weight of their shared history settled between them. It was a moment of pure, unspoken understanding, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple through time, touching lives in ways we never expect. The student walked away that day, knowing he had finally repaid the debt of kindness, and the homeless man, now with a roof over his head and a future to look forward to, sat on the bench and smiled, grateful not just for the money, but for the reminder that he had made a difference in someone's life. The story doesn't end there. Years later, the once homeless man, now thriving, found himself helping another struggling soul. The cycle of kindness continued, proving that no act of compassion is ever too small to matter. And somewhere, under that same flickering streetlight, the world felt just a little bit warmer.